Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'll be doing a 3D modeling video on how I design a base. And I started with a box modeled like a cylinder, just like a Games Workshop base, just to get a scale reference in Blender. And then I exported that into ZBrush and then started sculpting away, trying to block out like a piece of terrain that could fit and sit on top of a Games Workshop disc for a base. And then here I'm just using a clay buildup brush with an alpha texture just to create some type of interesting landscape. And just building up texture until I think it looks good enough. Throw some bigger rocks on there. Not too worried about the underside of it, because if the strength's too high on the alpha, it'll pull from the other side, which you can mask if you wanted to where it doesn't affect the bottom half. And so now I'm just making it look a little more organic and less geometric with the sharp edges, making it look like a gradual build-up or some type of mound that the base is sitting on. I just start scaling it a little bit and changing the position, making it look pretty even on the base. And then I'm gonna start making tiles or create like a path or a walkway. And I raise the resolution using Dynamesh. Rather than subdividing, I use Dynamesh. Which raises the overall resolution of the piece that I'm sculpting on, but it maintains the same amount of detail. And so I'm just trying to create an interesting pattern, and the part you see on the base in front of these tiles, that is, I took a Space Marine and measured the millimeters of like his feet, so I can get a rough estimate on the scale that I need to make these tiles to make them make sense with what the model's standing on. So that's just the size of a normal Space Marine's foot. And this is a 32 millimeter base. And so I'm just duplicating, moving around and stretching and cutting just to make an interesting base design, getting rough detail on there. Raise the resolution a little bit just to get sharper details. And with the printer that I use to print, a lot of these details are minute when it comes to what'll get seen with the finished printed piece. So that's why I'm not worried about, you know, like super detailed pieces, as long as the shape's there and the indentions are large enough, the crevices, and if it does show through, you know, then that's good. But already assuming that it's not gonna show that much detail as much as the 3D render. And so I'm just creating something interesting on top of this little dirt mound with these tiles. Really thinking about, you know, how this is going to look from every angle. if you know, depending on the stance of the model, whether he's on 1 foot or 2 feet, you know, is he going to be able to stand flat on the tiles, and how it's going to look with a miniature on top. And I put together a lot of miniature kits, and you know, a lot of times with like the single character HQs, they come with a piece of terrain that is flat on the bottom that you can just glue down and then add more texture around it if you wanted. And so I was basically referencing that type of base making. And what I did there was just merge all my layers. Each of these tiles were separate because I was just duplicating, so I merged them all into one layer to where I can affect everything at once, and use Dynamesh to unify the resolution of the model. And I'm just using big brushes, flat brushes, just to change the shape, make it look more organic overall. Then I have the mound of dirt on a separate layer, so I can adjust that as well. So we got them all merged together, and now I'm just flattening the top a little bit so that, you know, structurally it'll be easier to glue a model down to the top of the base. I lose a little bit of detail, but I can always go back and add that. And now I'm just trimming like bits that are poking through around the outside, because I want a solid print or something that's not too fragile around the edges, because relatively this is going to be pretty small to fit on a 32mm base, and it's got a taper on the inside, like a 1mm taper from the bottom of the 32mm size of the base to the top of the base. And so this is going to be anywhere from 28, 27mm diameter. So I'm just adding more extra details, just using the damn standard brush. And so I just dragged a cube in and put it on the negative boolean just to flatten the bottom. And then I got to think about how this is going to print, because I'm only going to make this the actual piece of terrain to where it's going to be on a Games Workshop tile or disc. So I got to think about how it's going to be oriented in the printing slicer. And this is what we're looking like. I could print 5 at a time. And I took it back in the blender and scaled it down again to where it'll fit a 32mm base. But the supports you see on there, I just boolean those to the object just to have stronger supports than the natural generated tree supports that you get with the that slicer. And this is what we're looking like after it's printed. And I'm just snipping off the bits that were support, and I use a photon printer, a resin printer, and it's a UV light curing printer, so it uses a UV resin. So that's what we're looking like after we get the support materials off, and I think the results are pretty good. I might change the way the support lays on these, just so it's less cleanup on the edges. and so I can keep it flat on the bottom. But with the orientation of the way they have to print, see, if I printed them horizontal, which I tried a couple times, they just it's just too much to pull off the bottom of the vat, because these printer prints top down, and so the pieces stick to the print bed that goes up and down on a z-axis. And so I had to do it sideways, that way it's not pulling too much out the vat. But this is what it looks like on the model, or on the base with the model. And this is the way I painted the base. I just used a pigment powder and then a gray with a white mix to edge highlight the rocks, just to make it pronounced and stand out. You can see why scale plays an important part whenever you're designing a base for miniatures or any type of terrain. And I'm pretty happy with the overall results of the base. But that's pretty much it, guys. Let me know if you're interested in seeing more content like this, where it's basically like behind the scenes of me making stuff for miniatures besides like my painting tutorials. But and if you want to see the video for the painting tutorial for this guy, it's also on my channel, my most recent video. But thanks for watching, and we'll see y'all next time.